So I'd like to call this meeting to order, and can we have a reading of the meeting notice?
The Board of Directors of the School District of the City of Erie, PA will meet in regular session on Wednesday, August 10th, 2022, in the auditorium at East Middle School, 1001 Atkins Street at 6 p.m. by request of the President, Lori A. Pickens.
Roll call.
Dr. Tate?
Here.
Mr. Brenneman?
Here.
Ms. Cooley?
She's excused.
Ms. Devlin?
Here.
Ms. Gillespie?
Here.
Mr. Harkins?
Here.
Mr. Nichols?
Here.
Ms. Sheridan?
She's excused.
Ms. Pickens?
Here. Next, we will have the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a moment of silence for Cecilia Rotowski, a retired teacher's aide who passed away on June 17th, 2022. Susan Kuhn, retired school nurse who passed away on June 18th, 2022. Barbara Richard, retired teacher who passed away on June 26, 2022. Annette Grignall, retired secretary who passed away on July 7th, 2022. John Swiderski Jr., former custodian who passed away on July 10th, 2022. Erie High School student, Desmere Cherry, who passed away on July 21st, 2022. Mary Ann Piscatelli, retired teacher who passed away on July 26, 2022. Frank Scuzzi, retired assistant to the superintendent who passed away on August 7th, 2022. Can we all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance?
Of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And I would like to announce that the board met in executive session on Wednesday, June 15th, 2022, in the library at East Middle School, 1001 Atkins Street, from 7:05 p.m. to 7:23 p.m. regarding legal and personnel matters. On Wednesday, August 3rd, 2022, in Conference Room 1 at the Dr. James E. Barker Leadership Center, 148 West 21st Street, from 7:26 p.m. to 8:20 p.m. regarding personnel matters. And this evening, Wednesday, August 10th, 2022, in the library at East Middle School, 1001 Atkins Street, from 5:52 p.m. to 5:58 p.m. regarding legal matters.
Madam President,
Yes.
move to amend tonight's agenda with the previously provided memorandum of understanding between the School District of the City of Erie, Erie Center for Arts and Technology, and the Community College of Erie County.
I second.
Do we need to waive the rules as part of this? Do we need to have that motion first or joined with this?
This is the appropriate procedure under Act 65, Pennsylvania Sunshine Law. This time, Mr. Harkins, I believe it would be appropriate. We have a motion to amend in a second.
Second. Mr. Nichols. And roll call.
Dr. Tate?
I will be abstaining as a employee of Erie County Community College.
Mr. Brenneman?
Yes.
Ms. Devlin?
I will also be abstaining as an employee of the Erie Center for Arts and Technology.
Ms. Gillespie?
Yes.
Mr. Harkins?
Yes.
Mr. Nichols?
Yes.
Ms. Pickens?
Yes. Moving on to item 2, which is the report of the superintendent.
Thank you, Ms. Pickens. Good evening, everyone. It's hard to believe, but the new school year begins just 3 weeks from now on Monday, August 29th. To celebrate, we're hosting open houses at all of our district schools on Wednesday, August 24th. All elementary schools will be open from 4:30 to 6:30 p.m. Middle schools will be open from 5 to 7 p.m., and our high schools will be open from 6 to 8 p.m. Please take this opportunity to visit your child's school, meet our teachers and staff, and ask any questions you may have about the upcoming school year. In the meantime, please look for our annual family information guide with helpful information about school times, dress code, transportation, and other important topics arriving in your mailbox soon. We're still taking enrollments for pre-K and kindergarten. Children entering pre-kindergarten must be age 4 on or before August 31st, and children entering kindergarten must be age 5 on or before August 31st. For complete information, including registration requirements and a link to our online site, visit eriesd.org/registration. Finally, I'd like to take a moment to thank all of the supporters who helped raise money for the Foundation for Erie's Public Schools during the organization's recent gala and on Erie Gives Day. Thanks to your generosity, FEPS continues to provide much-needed support for our staff, students, and families in the areas of academics, arts, advocacy, assistance, and athletics. Thank you. That concludes my report.
Can I have a motion? Can I have a motion to approve?
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Brenneman,
Second.
second by Devlin. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, next on our agenda, we have the hearing of citizens. We do have a 5-minute speaker here tonight, Mr. Richard Gorski, who will be speaking on the topic of property tax. Mr. Gorski, if you could sign your name.
I already did, thank you.
Noted.
Good evening. I'm Richard Gorski, retired factory worker, military veteran. I reside at 1042 East 33rd Street, Erie, PA 16504. I am here today to ask the president of the school board to hold a special meeting and have a special vote to amend the recent tax increase you approved at the last minute before the tax bills went out, and the additional $15 million you got from Governor Wolf. That was great timing. Tax increase is not needed and unjustifiable. Once again, you redid the $80 million bond issue to fix the school buildings. You got additional $14 million from Land Laughlin for whatever. You got $76 million stimulus money to handle pandemic issues and other needs, and another $15 million from the governor for whatever. You put an undue burden on the homeowner and hardship on small businesses. What has happened in recent years? You went down from 4 high schools to 1 high school, from 13,000 students to 10,000, and you want more money. No other district is asking for more money, even the Catholic schools. And Erie High, having a disciplinary problem, attendance problem, and low test scores. How did we rank prior to the pandemic? Grade school, middle school, and high school, last, bottom of the totem pole. So in closing, once again, I ask you to take a vote to amend this tax increase. It's causing an undue hardship. And last but not least, all of you have a fiduciary responsibility to be fiscally responsible for the taxpayers' money. And what I get in today's paper? Governor Wolf speaks on historic increase in education funding. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Are there any other citizens here to speak tonight? If you could, please sign your name on the clipboard,
I did.
and then state your name and zip code, please.
Mary Hormansky. What else do you want to know?
Nothing else? No, you have a 3-minute mark.
My son, Joey Hormansky, has a great personality. He loves the fire and police department. Any chance he gets, he donates money to them. At camp, he has lemonade stands, donates the money he raises. He's very small for his age. He's been disabled all his life. It's not going to change anytime soon. He's in life skills at Strong Vincent Middle School, going into the 7th grade. His IQ is 50. He learns best by listening to everything everybody says. He has cerebral palsy, is visually impaired, with a long list of many other things. At the end of the school year, this past year, his teacher was on leave for surgery. You hired a bus company, so it's your responsibility to protect him. My son's bus driver, through all the cameras in the neighborhood, including ours, plus us watching from sitting on our porch and hearing it ourselves, screaming and yelling and swearing at our son is not acceptable behavior from any adult on a special needs bus. Our son's doctor had increased his meds at the end of the day and made him very sleepy. He fell asleep on the bus ride home. Instead of an aide waking him, all hell broke loose, and the bus driver yelling at our son. Before you could blink an eye, He's out of his seat going to our son, telling him to get off of his bus. The driver yelling because he was sleeping on the bus. The driver said, "Because you wouldn't get your ass off of my bus." With all the disabilities, he moved him from the front of the bus to the back of the bus. And in the morning, he didn't even wait for him to sit down. He just took off driving, making him almost fall. This has happened over many months. When our child basically stopped eating and was acting out in school, it was our son's fault, not the bully bus driver, so who was not trained for special needs children. Then because our son started acting out in school, they called security and put him in holds. This child has a half a brain and does not understand adults behaving badly. So what happens when our son acts out irrationally? Is the security going to arrest him? I really need to know. This is very real. The aide on the bus is also in his class at school. She didn't help with any of this. As a parent, I find this a very serious matter. It was a month before he started eating again, and our doctor the last 2 weeks of school had to write a note to help his well-being, his mental well-being, by keeping him out of school. For a boy who doesn't know any better, shame on them to have a bus driver who is not trained that I know of, who can do better. As parents, you expect us to do better. I expect you to do better and not have bus drivers yelling and screaming at my special needs son, whose IQ is only 50. So who's minding those who can't mind themselves? Thank you.
Ma'am? Ma'am?
Yes.
Mr. Persnicki, could you stand up? If you want to speak to that gentleman at the back of the room, he's in charge of the transportation department. I'd like him to get your information so we can do an investigation. Thank you.
I'd like you to know I spoke to them, and what was told to me when I called twice on the phone was, "You know how those children are on that bus, don't you?" I guess I don't. I have 5 sons of myself, and this happens to be my youngest child.
Are there any other citizens here to speak tonight?
President and board members, Ed Kissel, 2815 Sigsbee Street, Erie, Pennsylvania. I'd like to thank you for keeping the fire burning under the Biletnikoff Field. The article in the paper, and I believe the discussion last Wednesday was encouraging, and I would encourage you to keep the light lit so that we can make that a showplace as much as the school renovation should be a school in shining armor up on 32nd Street. So I appreciate however the board can continue to do that. Thank you very much.
Are there any other residents who are here wishing to speak tonight? None. Okay, well, thank you all for sharing. And I just want you guys to know that your matters that you do bring are important to us, and we do intend to pursue and look into all of those things as it pertains to our students and the school district. Next on our agenda, we have item 4 for any reports from any committees or liaisons.
Ms. Pickens? I have 2 reports from my committees. First, thanks, Mr. Kissel, for that comment. I do want to report that the Athletic Facilities Commission met last Monday, I believe it was, to discuss the athletic facilities within the district and which could be prioritized for perhaps additional renovation. That commission, as I reported back to the board last week at our committee of the whole, made a recommendation that the Biletnikoff Field project be put at the top of the list for athletic facilities projects. Spoke to the board about that, but I wanted to share here tonight that official recommendation by the committee. We understand that there's additional work that will be done. We hope that coaches and students and neighbors will be spoken to. I know they will be. But again, just wanted to share that, excuse me, formally from the commission. Secondly, I just wanted to report that the Land Bank Board continues to meet once a month at City Hall. The last time I spoke, I did not have the website for the Land Bank. I want to make sure everyone's aware of that. It's erielandbank.org. I say that because the Land Bank continues to have properties that are available for rehabilitation. We can offer those to city residents at a very low cost, particularly when they go to making a neighborhood better, side lots, different properties. So I want to encourage residents of the city of Erie to please keep an eye on that and consider putting forward proposals for rehabilitation of land. Those conclude my reports. Thank you.
Thank you.
Madam President, can I ask Mrs. Devlin a question, or just react to it? Sure. As I said at our committee of the whole meeting, I'm happy that we're in a position to upgrade things at Pletnikoff Field. For decades, it's been neglected and little by little became an eyesore. And some good people like Mr. Kissel have done a lot of work in the last 2 years to polish it as best they could. So it's wonderful news, and I don't want to throw a damper on it, but my understanding is that we'll get price tags for the various aspects of what the menu we saw the other night for aspects of the work there to be done for us to agree to and approve separately rather than a whole all or none package. So I hope that we're on track to do that when the time comes. And my only pause is that part about trying to compete with our own stadium and transform it into a big place of bustling activity after hours with lights and noise, loudspeakers. As Daria said, we need to have a healthy discussion among ourselves and with the neighbors to make sure that we're not reaching too far too fast. But none of this is a negative on the efforts and all that's been done and intended to be done. Just an upgrade to where it should have been and needs to be, and I'm not sure how far we lurch forward yet or not. None of this, it means I wouldn't consider it and won't do it, but I just want to go slowly with the loudspeakers and the lights. Thank you for allowing me to express that.
Madam President, so I guess this is an update from the newly formed Family Involvement Committee. I just wanted to say thank you to everyone for the conversation last week during our Committee of the Whole meeting. You all provided some very helpful ideas and perspectives to help fully flesh that out, and I hope that's something that we can start to, continue our conversations with, but start to involve some more families in those discussions. We had another really great presentation during tonight's Committee of the Whole that I think, only helps us to identify the need for something like this, but also allows for an opportunity to see how much it can grow and the direction that that might take. So thank you all for your ideas and suggestions, and I look forward to presenting more information on that in the coming months.
Thank you. Any other reports? This week I was asked to be on a meeting with the City of Erie regarding regarding funds that they want to use as it relates to supporting and helping homeless youth in the City of Erie. So it was an interesting conversation. It was good to share, to talk about how culturally it's very different when you use the term homeless. In some cultures, when you're living with your grandparents or your aunt, you're not considered quote-unquote homeless as it was once used to be looked at, or as it used to look like. And so we had a lot of conversation about that, a lot of conversation around mental health, how we can build better supports or be more resourceful with the supports that are existing, and having those things branch out further, and just having more conversation with the family. We had some small conversation. I was sharing how in 2017, there used to be a lot of meetings going on about youth and family, or youth homelessness, and I don't know what has happened to it since 2017, but I do know that bringing it up has sparked a lot more interest behind it. So I look forward to hopefully bringing back some more information around that, and hopefully we can continue to just be a guiding light for our students in our district, and looking out for them in homelessness, and partnering with organizations that address that and the families. I also want to congratulate Mr. Harkins on his recognition that he received this past weekend at the gala. And so we just really appreciate you and all the years of work, all your years of commitment, all your dedication, your wisdom, and your leadership. It is unmatched, and we appreciate all of that.
Thank you very much.
So that's all I have as far as I go.
Madam President, one more
Yes.
thing. So as the PSBA co-liaison, I believe, for that committee, I just wanted to remind everyone, if you're not receiving those emails or not checking regularly, they currently have an opportunity available for first-year school directors where you can apply to be on a legislative, a statewide legislative policy program. So you are able to be trained and receive further guidance. I think that would be wonderful for our district if we could have at least one representative there to help us push forward, with the committee's rollout and just really help refine our practice and policies as a board. So just reminding all of my co-first-year school directors that that opportunity is available.
Thank you. So thank you, everyone, for all the reports and all the work and effort that you're doing to continue to push forward in our district together. Do I have a motion to approve the reports?
Move to approve the reports as provided.
Moved by Brenneman.
Second.
Second by Gillespie. Any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? There's no unfinished business. Moving on to new business.
Madam President,
Yes.
move to adopt the items under new business.
Can I get a second?
Second.
Second by Gillespie. And a roll call. Comment after or comment now? Is there any discussion that we can have?
Madam President, if I may note that the new item that was that was amended into the agenda will be taken separately after this vote.
Okay.
I just wanted to comment on something.
Go ahead.
I want to praise Dr. Tate for making something happen. I want to praise Dr. Tate for making something happen, working with our assistant superintendent to allow Erie High and Collegiate Academy students to participate in classes at the Erie County Community College, and ideally upon graduation, get an associate degree along with their high school diploma. I just think that's remarkable and wonderful, and I don't think we would have had it or known about it without Dr. Tate's offering, and I salute her for that.
Thank you for that effort. I lost track now. So roll call.
Dr. Tate,
Yes.
Mr. Brenneman,
Yes.
Ms. Devlin,
Yes.
Ms. Gillespie,
Yes.
Mr. Harkins.
Yes.
Mr. Nichols,
Yes.
Ms. Pickens.
Yes. So the addition,
Ms. Pickens,
Is-
if I may read to you what the
Yes.
resolution states.
okay,
At the beginning of the meeting, we had added an item to the agenda. According to the Sunshine Law, we were permitted to do so upon amendment of the agenda, because this particular item of business just came to fruition shortly before the meeting. The resolution that you will see on the amended agenda that will come out after this meeting is resolved that the Board of School Directors of the School District of the City of Erie approves, that the Board of School Directors of the School District of the City of Erie approves the Memorandum of Understanding with the Erie Center for Arts and Technology, ECAT, and the Community College of Erie County, EC3, authorizing ECAT to facilitate the ECAT Construction Trades Program and EC3 to facilitate the Industrial Manufacturing Program, both at Erie High School for the 2022-2023 school year, as is electronically attached to the agenda. And attached to the agenda will be a copy of the MOU that was previously passed out to you this evening.
so can I have a motion to approve? this
Move to
item?
adopt the resolution.
Second.
Moved by Brenneman, seconded by Gillespie. Any discussion?
Yes.
Yes.
I'd just like to say I see how I confused you, and I apologize. I jumped the gun. I thought that was included somewhat earlier, so I apologize to you, Lori.
It's okay.
You praised me a few minutes ago, but I'm a geezer and I goofed.
It's all good. It'll work.
Ms. Pickens?
Yes.
I just want to note that I'll be abstaining from this vote because I'm an employee of the Erie Center for Arts and Technology. I also want to add that, because for those that don't know, this is just a new iteration of the former Tech After Hours program. So not a new program to the district, just a new iteration being split between two organizations. But I will be abstaining from today's vote.
Okay.
Madam President, I'll also be abstaining as an employee of the Erie County Community College.
Thank you. Motioned by Brenneman, seconded by Gillespie, abstained by Devlin and Tate. Any discussion? Roll call.
Dr. Tate?
Abstain?
Mr. Brenneman?
Yes.
Ms. Devlin?
Abstain?
Ms. Gillespie?
Yes.
Mr. Harkins?
Yes.
Mr. Nichols?
Yes.
Ms. Pickens?
Yes. Can we have a approval of the minutes? Item 7,
So moved.
motion by Mr. Harkins.
Second.
Second by Brenneman. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Next is item 8, bills and payroll. Do we have to do those separate tonight? Yes. So
We approve the bills.
for item 8.1. Moved by Harkins,
Second.
second by Brenneman. Any discussion?
Ms. Pickens?
Yes.
I'll be again abstaining, this time because a member of my family works for an organization being paid by the district.
Okay, abstention, abstained by Devlin. Any discussion? Roll call.
Dr. Tate?
Yes.
Mr. Brenneman?
Yes.
Ms. Devlin?
Abstain?
Ms. Gillespie?
Yes.
Mr. Harkins?
Yes.
Mr. Nichols?
Yes.
Ms. Pickens?
Yes. Still under bills and payroll, item 8.2.
I move we pay the payroll.
Second.
Moved by Harkins, seconded by Brenneman. Any discussion? Roll call.
Dr. Tate?
Yes.
Mr. Brenneman?
Yes.
Ms. Devlin?
Yes.
Ms. Gillespie?
Yes.
Mr. Harkins?
Yes.
Mr. Nichols?
Yes.
Ms. Pickens?
Yes.
Madam President,
Yes.
move to adopt the report of the Secretary.
Moved by Brenneman,
Second.
second by Tate. Any discussion? Roll call.
Dr. Tate?
Yes.
Mr. Brenneman?
Yes.
Ms. Devlin?
Yes.
Ms. Gillespie?
Yes.
Mr. Harkins?
Yes.
Mr. Nichols?
Yes.
Ms. Pickens?
Yes. Item 10, awards on bids. Can I have a motion to approve that?
Move we make these awards.
Moved by Harkins,
Second?
second by Devlin. Any discussion?
That includes the rejection of one, just with
Yes.
that understanding.
Ms. Pickens, I do have a comment, if it's okay, on the rejection. I just want to note, I find this very concerning. I know that I spoke with Mr. Polito about this. I think we've gone out for this RFP a few times. We've been unsuccessful. And this is for out-of-school time coordinator services. I'm really hoping that at some point in the future, we can figure out how to make this work, because I think it's an important initiative. I'm disappointed, again, that this one didn't work, and just encourage, I guess, the assistant superintendent, the superintendent to keep at it, because I think it's very important. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Roll call.
Dr. Tate?
Yes.
Mr. Brenneman?
Yes.
Ms. Devlin?
Yes.
Ms. Gillespie?
Yes.
Mr. Harkins?
Yes.
Mr. Nichols?
Yes.
Ms. Pickens?
Yes. Any other matters to be discussed?
Madam President,
Yes.
this is other board matters, right? So I don't.
Yes.
Okay, all right. I just wanted to note that the tour that I took with Ms. Devlin and Mr. Nichols and with the superintendent and Mr. Brockman to go through, we went through a couple weeks ago, I believe it was, around to my son's future middle school here at Wilson. We went to Collegiate and then Erie High after that. And I know I mentioned now, I toured all the schools early last spring, late winter. My gosh, what a huge difference, just what's happening in the buildings since then. I really just strongly recommend any person, if you've attended school at those buildings, if you've taught there, if your children have gone there, Whatever your memories are of that place, just know that there are new classrooms, there's new technology, there's all sorts of amazing things that are going on in there. And I look forward to an opportunity where the community can see their investment into our schools and how great the process has been going. I know you had already mentioned and congratulated Mr. Harkins at the FEPS Gala. I do want to note that yesterday I met with a parent, crossing guard, PTA leader, and to go walk around Grover Cleveland Elementary to discuss transportation, safety, et cetera. And it was eye-opening, definitely, to have somebody with that level of expertise and commitment to the community. But I as part of, as one of the key things that I identified in my tour of all the schools, one issue that kept coming up was transportation. And I say that collectively, and every means of that term being, how do students get to and from school, be it for standard school hours, but also for after-school activities and other things that are happening. I want to note that has led me to even further. This has been a main issue, an issue that I've been really interested in for well over a decade. But I just want to point out there's been some recent numbers that have come out that, according to PennDOT, children ages 5 to 14 are some of the most vulnerable to fatal injury and injury while riding a bicycle. Pennsylvania pedestrian deaths are up 20%, and pedestrian deaths have crept upward for more than a decade nationally. And Pennsylvania has seen a 21% rise since 2019. Also that, according to a number of studies, but specifically I'll mention Matthew Rafman, who's a doctoral candidate at Boston University, who's speaking nationally, because this is also a national issue, that we have created a system where walking and cycling are more dangerous than driving, and where Black and Hispanic Americans are at greater risk of fatality per mile traveled than white Americans. And just my cursory following of the news of accidents and crashes, vehicle crashes and pedestrian crashes in Erie, that would hold true. And that Jess Beck, who's a renowned, who's been to Erie, I believe, before a couple times, but in his 2018 book, Walkable City Rules, he says that, he quotes a statistic that you are about 5 times as likely to be killed by a car going 30 as a car going 20. So just 10 miles per hour increases your multiplies your likelihood of being killed by a vehicle by 5 times. But of course, that study is one that, and also the increase is between 20 and 25. But that study is sort of outdated because it looks at vehicles that were average at the time, which were smaller vehicles. A lot of people nowadays have big trucks and SUVs where they're higher, children are smaller, so the likelihood of a head injury is much more increased. And also that the stopping distance, because of the vehicle's weight, particularly in the wintertime, it's something that we should all be really concerned about. And it's one that, as a parent of, my own kids going through, how many of us have rode our bikes or walked to school, and then nowadays, how many of us who have parents or understand how folks don't want to make that decision to allow their kids to walk because it's unsafe. But then the downside is that less people walking, more people driving means more vehicles on the streets, also makes driving more, makes the transportation to and from school more dangerous. I'm not going to provide all of it now, but just know that I will be following up with the administration and with you, Ms. Pickens, too, about some ideas about not just, specific items that each of the schools that I've noted were brought to my attention, but also in some potential paths forward of how we can take a unified and collaborative, look at how our children, because honestly, any death, and we had one last December, and that's one too many, and I don't want us to go through again with that. Some of the things that we can look at is what my notes here, expanding EMTA bus options for after-school activities, niche transportation options, particularly when weather worsens, like partnering with an organization that has a van so that, some kids that maybe they're inside the bus, they're not within the bus catchment where they can still get to school safely. Online and printable transportation map. How do you get to the individual schools? How do you get to the administrative building? Go to the website, get information. What bus routes do you have to take? Consistent student transportation connection between Erie High and Collegiate was brought up. what happened before with construction at Collegiate, as far as like when we do construction, I know there's no city ordinance against it, but if we take away a sidewalk where people in their wheelchairs and their scooters, et cetera, and kids walking, if we take away that sidewalk, we can follow what pretty much every city around the world does and ensure that there is a protected, safe, clear means around that. Other issues that come up from, this is the second parent I've heard about when it comes to bus issues. We need to make sure our cameras are working, but also parents need to know when their kids are on or off the bus, just so that kids don't get left on the bus. Also, it just helps with accountability. I think we should be working with the city of Erie, not just like, they interview the school district when they do the active plan. There's all these interviews and stakeholder interviews and stuff, but there is no consistent, regular, proactive, and accountable group of individuals representing the school district, the city of Erie, PennDOT, you name it, United Way, to address the safety of kids going to and from school. And more than that, it needs to be our own children who take those routes, particularly in the winter. They need to be the ones that are informing it. They need to be the ones that are helping us identify that. Again, I have a host of other recommendations, but I'm going to be offering one that's specifically on a path forward of how we can come together and what roles everybody can play. And I just wanted to leave that up there as the school is going to start soon.
Thank you, Mr. Brenneman, for sharing all of that out. I do have some thoughts, but I don't think they're thoughts for the platform, so I'll wait until after this is over. So, any other matters, anyone?
Yes, I just want to mention that, we took extensive efforts to improve the safety of the middle schools and high schools this spring. And those were geared primarily against an internal threat. And just want everybody to know that the administration and the board has been discussing the Uvalde situation and what we need to do to harden our elementary schools against an external threat. And that's being worked on and hopefully will result in a plan submitted to this board perhaps as soon as next month.
Thank you, Mr. Nichols.
Madam President, had that citizen who spoke to us tonight about the budget and his request that we vote and have a special meeting, had he remained with us, I was going to request of you that we allow the superintendent to explain to that citizen how it isn't that simple and that we can't do that. And perhaps if you choose to do it now briefly, or if you think it's worth it to do it in some other way, but a request is made, and if we don't respond to it, I'm afraid people might think we're indifferent or don't care. But just briefly, the reason that we accepted from you why there won't be a special meeting to revisit the budget this year.
Yes, the tax bills have already been mailed. I've received confirmation from several people. I see several of our board members nodding their heads. At this point, there's really nothing we can logistically do to adjust that, other than attempting to mail all 30,000 taxpayers checks for reimbursement, which we don't have the capacity to do, and I'm not exactly sure how we would even go about implementing that. Just want to remind the board that we did have a presentation last week from PFM. One of the things that's on the table right now, and we need to wait until we get to next budget season, but we very well, given our financial health, very well could forego a tax increase next year to balance that out to the 2%, that 2 to 2.5% that we've been moving along with over the last several years.
Thank you, Mr. Paluto. I think that's helpful. Your remarks were helpful. In a related way, before the meeting, I remarked to the solicitor that I saw on social media that a taxpayer was upset that his taxes went up by $100, and my immediate assumption was that that taxpayer did not have the homestead exemption applying in his case. It's an assumption, and the solicitor said I was probably assuming correctly, but that taxpayer could not go back and request the homestead exemption for this year. But perhaps, and I'm asking if you think through Erica, you could disseminate some information that tells taxpayers who may not know about it or may not have it, that going forward they can, how they can do it, or if they can.
Yeah, that's actually a very good idea, Mr. Harkins. We can pull that together and make sure that we get that communicated out.
Okay. One more thing. Mr. Palatella wrote a very nice tribute article to Frank Scosi, who passed away a few days ago. And Frank was a pillar of the school district for 40 years. And I was quoted in it, and I've had a lot of time to think about it before and since, during and since that. And what I tried to portray that really wasn't, I didn't do a good job of explaining, or he didn't have the room, was that Frank's personality, he put it to good use with his caring nature, and convinced the district at the time that special ed kids needed to be elevated to first-class status, not second-class. During his time and with his supervisor, Joe Rodriguez, who became the superintendent, the two of them worked together, and we didn't initiate mainstreaming, but we were in the forefront of that when that came to be the practice to mainstream special ed kids where they could be. And the whole emphasis on special ed and the elevation of it, I was trying to give Frank credit for, and it happened in a way where, as the meetings where the decisions were made came, Frank made sure we took it seriously, and everybody's trust of him and his personality sold it to us, because I admit Joe Rodriguez and I didn't see eye to eye, but he was involved, he supervised it, and he deserves credit for it too, so I wanted to say that. But other than that, we lost a good soldier in Frank Scosi, and he remained actively involved in trying to do good things for the district right up until his final days. We'll miss him.
Madam President, a lot of things have been said already. I don't want to restate. I think the only thing I want to add is certainly as school begins, our athletic season will begin. I was happy to go to the Erie High Football Booster fundraiser this Saturday afternoon. I want to commend Mr. Nixon and the football boosters for putting that on. But I encourage all of us. I know that there's like this newfound interest in all of our sports teams, which is exciting to me. So I look forward to seeing many of my fellow board members at fall events. And I just want to add, too, I spoke with a couple of coaches at that event and really want to encourage specifically you, Mr. Brockman, to make sure we're talking to the coaches about upgrades. I had an opportunity to speak with the strength coach about what he needs in the weight room. So I know that you're doing that. I want to encourage that we do that. Certainly as we move forward with Biletnikoff, I think we need to have those conversations, honestly, with the people that it really matters to, the coaches and the students. So it was a great event. I was happy to be there, great conversations, and looking forward to a successful athletic season coming up. Thank you.
Anything else? All right. Can I have a motion to adjourn this meeting?
So moved.
Moved by Harkins. Second by Tay. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? This meeting is adjourned. I guess we're going to an executive session in the library.
The board is going to return to the library here for executive session for the purposes of personnel.